Hi, this is Chris from Moto Legends, the chap in the cap, here today to talk to you about a boot from Daytona, the German boot maker. It's a boot called the Spirit GTX, and it's a slightly lighter, more summery version of the standard M-Star, Roadstar, Travel Star Pro boots made by Daytona. But before I go into the boots themselves, let me talk to you a little bit about Daytona as a company. Daytona makes simply the world's best motorcycle boots. The company was set up by two brothers, Helmut and Reinhard Frey, in a factory in Bavaria in 1957. They're still making boots in that same factory, and even today you can go along and you might well find Helmut and Frey on the shop floor overseeing procedures. And I've been along to find Helmut on a machine pressing things out, whilst Reinhard is at the other end of the factory sweeping the floor, just making sure that things are running smoothly. These guys are not empire builders. They have no aim to create a motorcycle company that sells helmets, jackets, pants, gloves. They set out to make the world's best motorcycle boots, and very few people would deny the assertion that they have succeeded in doing that. So these are the boots. The starting point with any boot, I suppose, is the leather, and the Frey brothers unashamedly use the best leather that they can buy. They acknowledge that the leather that they use is more expensive than other leathers, but their view is that they're going to put the very best components into their boots, and the price is the price. If you want a cheaper boot, there's lots of boots out there, but if you want the best, you have to pay the price. The leather is hydrophobically treated, not after the boots have been made. It's not a spray-on finish. When this leather is tanned, it is treated for waterproofing. It creates a leather that we call hydrophobic. It repels water. Now, clearly in a boot like this, the real waterproofing comes from the lining, and in this case, as it is with all of Daytona's waterproof boots, that lining comes courtesy of Gore-Tex. But it helps if the outside leather doesn't absorb water, because it means that the boot is going to get less heavy, you're going to feel less cold. It means that the membrane is going to be able to do its job more easily. In the case of this particular boot, they use a slightly lighter leather. This is a summery version of a Daytona boot, so it is designed not to be as warm in the summer months, obviously. So they use a slightly lighter calfskin. It's still a very strong leather, but it's even more supple than a standard Daytona boot, which, let's face it, is pretty supple anyway. Daytona boots are always the most comfortable. But this is a slightly lighter calfskin, and then here we have perforated nubuck panels, obviously to allow a bit more air in, make these boots even more breathable. But again, just emphasizes that ability to wear these boots in the summer. So let's go through the boot, look at the different components. An inner side zip on this boot, just one zip coming up the inside. You've got a full height gusset here, so allows you to open the boot pretty wide so that you can get your foot down and around the corner. Let me just take that out. Around the edge, there's a neoprene edging on the shaft here, so if there are circumstances where the rain is so heavy that it's bouncing up off the road, coming under the trousers and trying to get into the boot, the idea is that this neoprene, which is both at the front and here around the shaft, will catch that water and stop it going into the boot. In terms of protection, you have a really hard toe cap here. Now, some people that look at Daytona boots, they feel there and go, that's not very tough, but the boot is incredibly tough at the toe end, which is where you need it. You don't really want it here. You want to be able to feel the gear change. So as we come back here, that hardened toe doesn't go beyond the gear change pad. That's rather soft. Again, just aids feel on the bike. You've got hard ankle protectors on both sides. Again, what's nice about these, and it's typical of Daytona, because Daytona is all about comfort, it's about safety, but these boots are just so comfortable to wear. But these protectors on the inside, they're lined with open cell foam, so when you're wearing them, you almost can't tell that there's a protector there at all. You've got a hardened reinforced counter in the heel, immensely strong again. Whilst we're here, you can see there's a 3M Scotch-Lite reflector. This accordion stretch panel and this are just there to make the boots easier to maneuver and articulate on the bike. In terms of the sole, it's a non-slip, oil-resistant sole. I'll come on and talk about the sole later, because that's one of the features that Daytona can replace should you wish them to at a later stage. One of the distinguishing features of a good motorcycle boot is that it should not be twistable. Because if you have an accident, you don't want it twisting and breaking the foot. If something runs over the boot, you don't want it to crush, so you want a really solid sole. So in a Daytona, almost all Daytonas have the same construction. You will have an inner, anatomically formed sole for comfort, just as you would find in most boots. And then inside there is a plastic inner sole, which goes the whole length of the shoe. That provides rigidity, but embedded into that, just beneath it, is a galvanized steel inlay, and it's that really gives the boot its immense rigidity. But it doesn't make the boot incredibly stiff, so the boot will still roll easily, but in an accident situation, that isn't going to bend. One of the reasons that you pay more for a Daytona boot, and you will pay more for a Daytona boot, this is not one of their most expensive boots. As we record this video towards the end of 2019, these boots are priced at £340. That's somewhat less than most of their touring boots, most of which are over £400. But you can buy a boot that purports to do pretty much what the Daytona Spirit does for much less money, probably half the money. So why do you spend more on a Daytona boot? And I think one of the answers is, obviously you've got the protection, you've got the comfort, you've got the fact that it's Gore-Tex lined, it's the best of everything. But when you buy a Daytona boot, you buy a boot that's going to last pretty much for life. It's going to be riding for most of us as long as we are. We have customers who've had Daytona boots for 10, 15, 20 years. They bring them in. We must send off half a dozen a month to Germany, and they can replace and repair almost every element of the boot. They can put on an entire new sole. You can have the gear change pad changed. You can have new zips. You can have the entire waterproof membrane replaced. Now, clearly, there comes a point where if you decide to do all this in one go, you're going to be paying almost as much as buying a new boot. So there comes a point at which it's not commercially viable. But if just the sole's gone, if you've worn it out, there are holes in it and it's beginning to leak, then for a pretty reasonable cost, we can send these off and have a new set of soles put on. So our view is that even though you pay more for a Daytona boot, if you did some kind of calculation about how long they're going to last and how much that is going to cost you a year, these boots are pretty effective. So let's say that these boots are $340 and they're lasting 10 years. £34 a year for a pair of boots doesn't seem a lot to us. And £10 is a very realistic life for a pair of boots. I wouldn't say that about most of the other brands of boots on the market. So anyway, that is the Daytona Spirit GTXs. It's a summer boot, it's lighter, it's more breathable, it's got these perforated panels. If you do most of your riding in the summer, if you're someone who doesn't ride it in the winter and you don't need the extra warmth of a boot like the Travel Star or the Road Star, then this is the boot that you should go for. If you'd like more information, visit the website www.motolegends.com. If you'd like to subscribe to future email bulletins, you can do that on the website. The front page of our website has got lots of little square blocks. We call them tiles. There's one there for subscribing to our email bulletins. We have products coming into the building just about every day of the week throughout the year. And when they come in, sometimes later in the week, we will send out a bulletin announcing what has arrived, what it is, what it does, and so on. So if you'd like to be kept up to speed with what's going on in the world of motorcycle apparel, subscribe to our bulletins. If you prefer to get your information videographically, we would be delighted if you wanted to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can do that on the subscribe button just below. If you want to go and look at information about these boots now, or who knows, even buy a pair, then you can click here, top right of the screen, and go directly to the boots. Anyway, this has been Chris at Motor Legends. Hope you found our review of the Daytona Spirit GTXs of interest. We'll talk to you soon.